The stars above Earth suddenly twisted and bent like water in a glass. Space itself seemed to tear open, creating a dark hole that grew bigger and bigger. Then something came through that hole. Something huge. Captain Hyun-woo stood at the window of the space station called New Seoul. He watched the massive alien ship appear in the blackness of space. The ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It was dark gray with red lights running along its sides. Sharp points stuck out from its hull like the spikes on a dragon's back. "Sir, we are getting readings from the alien vessel," said Lieutenant So-jin from her computer station. Her voice shook a little as she spoke. "The ship is 1 kilometer long. It has weapon systems that we have never seen before." Hyun-woo nodded but said nothing. He had been a captain for 15 years. He had fought space pirates and helped rescue people from broken ships, but he had never seen anything like this. The alien ship made their space station look like a toy. Down. On Earth, people were starting to notice something was wrong. The ship was big enough to see from the ground even during the day. It looked like a dark star that should not be there. News reports began to spread across the planet. Television stations interrupted their normal shows to talk about the strange object in the sky. Dr. Jiho was working late in his laboratory at the Seoul Institute of Advanced Technology when his computer started beeping. He was a quantum physicist, which meant he studied the smallest parts of matter and energy. His work was usually quiet and peaceful, but tonight, his machines were detecting something very unusual. "The quantum fields around Earth are changing," he said to himself as he looked at the data on his screen. This should not be possible. The alien ship hung in space like a dark cloud. It did not move. It did not send any messages. It just waited there, silent and threatening. On the space station, the crew watched and wondered what would happen next. Hours passed. Then the ship finally spoke. Lieutenant So-jin jumped when her communications system came alive with a loud, harsh voice. The voice spoke in perfect English, but it sounded wrong. It was too deep and had a strange hiss to it. "Primitive humans of the third planet," the voice said. "I am Admiral Kethmore of the Draconian Empire. You will surrender your world to us within 72 of your hours. If you refuse, we will destroy your cities and make your people our slaves. This is not a request. This is a fact." So Jin quickly recorded the message and sent it to Earth. Within minutes, every government on the planet had heard the alien demand. The president of Korea called an emergency meeting. The leaders of America, China, Russia, and all the other countries began talking to each other through video calls. But what could they do? Earth's weapons were nothing compared to what the aliens had. The biggest nuclear missiles would barely scratch a ship that size. The space station had some defensive guns, but they were meant to stop small asteroids, not alien warships. Captain Hyun-woo called his crew together in the main meeting room. There were 12 people on the station, and they all looked scared. He tried to sound calm and strong when he spoke to them. "We have received a threat from the alien vessel," he said. "Earth Command wants us to stay here and watch them. We will not attack unless they attack first. Our job is to protect Earth as best we can." "But sir," said Engineer Taemin, "what can we do against something like that? Our weapons are like throwing rocks at a tank." Hyun-woo looked out the window at the alien ship. Its red lights pulsed like a heartbeat. "We do our duty," he said. "We protect our home." On Earth, Dr. Jiho was not thinking about weapons or fighting. He was trying to understand the strange readings his machines were showing him. The quantum fields around the planet were moving in patterns he had never seen before. It was as if space itself was getting ready for something. He called his friend Dr. Yoon-bi, who worked at a research station in Antarctica. She studied the magnetic field that protected Earth from harmful radiation from the sun. If anyone would understand what was happening, it would be her. "Yoon-bi, are you seeing these quantum fluctuations?" he asked when she answered her phone. "Yes, I have been watching them for hours," she replied. "They started right when the alien ship appeared. But Jiho, these patterns are not random. They follow mathematical rules like someone is controlling them." This news made Jiho feel cold inside. If the quantum fields were being controlled, who was controlling them? Was it the aliens? Or was it something else? Meanwhile, the alien Admiral Kethmore stood on the bridge of his warship. He was 7 feet tall with dark green scales covering his body. His yellow eyes looked down at the blue and white planet below him. He had conquered 17 worlds for the Draconian Empire. Earth would be number 18. Science Officer Rethan, he said to one of his crew members, "What do your sensors tell you about this world?" Rethan looked at his instruments. "The planet has about 8 billion inhabitants, Admiral. They have basic technology, nuclear weapons, primitive spacecraft, simple computers. They should be easy to defeat." Admiral Kethmore smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Good! We will give them their 72 hours to think about surrender. When they refuse, as they always do, we will show them the power of the Draconian Empire." But something was bothering Science Officer Rethan. His sensors were picking up strange energy readings from the planet. He had never seen anything like them before. The readings seemed to come from specific places on the surface, but they made no sense. Why would a primitive world have such advanced energy signatures? "Admiral," he said carefully, "I am detecting unusual energy patterns from the planet's surface. Should we investigate?" Admiral Kethmore waved a clawed hand. "Primitive industry creates electromagnetic noise. It means nothing. Focus on targeting their military installations." Down on Earth, people were afraid, but also amazed. The alien ship was proof that life existed beyond their world. Scientists who had spent their lives looking for signs of alien life were both excited and terrified. This was what they had always hoped to find, but not like this. Not as conquerors. Dr. Hyajin was a xenobiologist, which meant she studied the possibility of alien life. She worked with Dr. Jiho at the Seoul Institute. When she heard about the quantum field changes, she became very interested. "If these energy patterns are artificial," she told Jiho, "then someone with very advanced technology is involved. But the aliens just arrived. They could not have set up equipment on Earth so quickly." "Then who did?" Jiho asked. That was the question everyone was starting to ask. The quantum fields were moving in ways that should be impossible. The energy came from dozens of places around the world. Ancient stone circles in England, pyramid sites in Egypt and Mexico, temple ruins in Cambodia and Peru. Places that were thousands of years old. As the first day passed, the alien ship remained silent and still. But on Earth, something was waking up. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. Dr. Jiho and his team worked through the night, trying to understand what was happening to their world. The quantum readings grew stronger with each passing hour. Whatever was coming, it was getting closer. And somewhere in the depths of space, other alien civilizations were starting to notice that something very strange was happening near the small blue planet called Earth. Admiral Kethmore was getting angry. 36 hours had passed since he gave the humans their warning, and they had not surrendered. Instead, their leaders were asking for more time to discuss his demands. In Draconian culture, this was a terrible insult. When the Empire spoke, other species were supposed to obey immediately. "Charge the demonstration cannon," he ordered his weapons officer. "We will show these primitives what happens when they waste our time." The weapons officer touched several buttons on his control panel. Deep inside the alien ship, massive energy generators began to hum with power. A single cannon on the ship's belly started to glow with bright blue light. Captain Hyunwoo watched from the space station as the alien ship's weapon systems came online. His heart pounded in his chest. He had no way to stop what was about to happen. "Sir, they are targeting something in the outer solar system," reported Lieutenant So-jin. "It looks like they are aiming at asteroid belt sector 7. "At least, they are not shooting at Earth," said Engineer Taman. But his relief did not last long. The alien cannon fired. A beam of blue energy shot out from the ship and traveled across millions of miles of space. When it hit a large asteroid, the space rock simply disappeared. It did not explode. It did not break apart. It was completely destroyed in less than 1 second. The demonstration was clear. If the aliens could destroy a mountain-sized asteroid, so easily they could do the same to any city on Earth. Down on the planet, Dr. Jiho was making discoveries that worried him greatly. The quantum field readings were getting stronger every hour, but what scared him most was where the energy was coming from. "Yunbi, I need you to look at these coordinates," he said during a video call with his friend in Antarctica. "Tell me what you see." Dr. Yunbi looked at the list of locations that Jiho sent her. Her face became pale as she read them. These are all ancient archaeological sites. Stonehenge in England, the Great Pyramid in Egypt, Machu Picchu in Peru, Angkor Wat in Cambodia. But Jiho, some of these places are over 4,000 years old. I know, he replied, and they are all showing the same quantum signature. Something is connecting them, something that has been there for a very long time. This discovery made both scientists feel cold with fear. How could ancient human ruins be connected to advanced quantum technology? Humans had only learned about quantum physics in the last 100 years. 4,000 years ago, people were still using bronze tools and riding horses. Meanwhile, Captain Hyunwoo was making a difficult decision. His orders were to observe and report, but he felt like he had to do something more. The alien ship had just shown it could destroy anything it wanted. Earth's military forces were helpless against such power. Subin, he called to his second-in-command. I want you to take the reconnaissance ship and get closer to that alien vessel. We need to learn everything we can about their technology. Commander Subin was a brave officer who had served with Hyunwoo for 8 years. She knew this mission would be very dangerous, but she also knew it was necessary. Sir, our stealth systems are not designed to hide from alien sensors, she said. They might detect us. Then be very careful, Hyunwoo replied. But we need information. Earth Command is asking questions we cannot answer. Subin took 3 crew members with her on the small reconnaissance ship called Dokdo. The ship was painted black and had experimental technology that could bend light around it, making it nearly invisible. But they had never tested it against alien sensors. As the Dokdo slowly moved toward the massive alien warship, Subin felt like a mouse approaching a sleeping dragon. The enemy vessel was so big that it had its own gravity field. Strange lights moved along its hull in patterns that hurt to look at. Keep us at minimum power, she whispered to her pilot, even though sound could not travel in space. We do not want to give them any reason to notice us. Back on Earth, Dr. Hyejin was researching the ancient sites that were showing quantum activity. What she found made her call an emergency meeting with Jiho and Yunbi. I have been reading old stories and myths from every culture on Earth, she told them through video link. Every single culture has legends about beings from the sky who promise to protect humanity. The Greeks called them gods. The Maya called them star people. The Egyptians called them sky watchers. But those are just stories, said Yunbi. Primitive. People trying to explain things they did not understand. Maybe, replied Hyejin. But what if they were not stories? What if they were historical records? Every culture says the same thing. Powerful beings came from space, helped build great monuments, and promised to return when humanity faced its greatest danger. This idea was so incredible that Jiho almost laughed, but then he looked at his quantum readings again. The energy patterns were following mathematical rules that humans had only discovered in the last 50 years. How could ancient people have known about such things? There is something else, Hyejin continued. I found records of similar quantum readings from other times in history, always during major crises, during the Black Death in Europe, during the volcanic winter of 1816, during both world wars. But the readings were much weaker then, and people did not have instruments sensitive enough to detect them. Meanwhile, Admiral Kethmore was reviewing reports from his science officer. Rethan had been monitoring the strange energy readings from Earth, and they were getting stronger. Admiral, these energy patterns are not caused by primitive industry, Rethan said carefully. They follow complex mathematical sequences. This suggests advanced technology. Admiral Kethmore turned his yellow eyes toward his science officer. Are you saying these humans have hidden weapons? I do not know, sir. But whatever is causing these readings is more advanced than our own quantum drives. This news made Admiral Kethmore very angry. The Draconian Empire had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. No primitive species should have anything better than what they possessed. Impossible, he snarled. Your instruments are malfunctioning. These creatures barely have space flight. They could not have quantum manipulation technology. But science, Officer Rethan, was not wrong. His instruments were working perfectly, and what they showed was that Earth was surrounded by energy fields that followed rules the Draconians did not understand. Commander Subin and her team managed to get within 1,000 kilometers of the alien ship without being detected. At that distance, their sensors could analyze the hull composition and energy signatures of the massive vessel. "The ship is made of materials we have never seen before," reported her science officer. "But there is something strange. Our quantum sensors are picking up interference from the planet below." Subin looked at her instruments. The readings showed that Earth was generating some kind of field that was affecting space around it. The field was growing stronger every hour. "Send this data back to Captain Hyun-woo immediately," she ordered, "and prepare to retreat. I have a feeling things are about to get very dangerous." On the alien ship, Admiral Kethmore was making his final preparations. In 12 hours, the deadline would pass, and he would begin the destruction of human civilization. The main planetary bombardment cannons were already charging with enough power to crack continents, but deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something ancient was stirring. Dr. Yunbi's instruments detected massive energy readings coming from the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans. Something down there was waking up after sleeping for thousands of years. "Jiho!" she called her friend urgently. "I am reading incredible energy output from the ocean floor. Whatever is down there, it is bigger than a city." Dr. Jiho looked at his own readings and felt his hands shake. The quantum field around Earth was reaching levels that should tear apart the fabric of space itself. But instead of destroying anything, the field seemed to be protecting the planet, wrapping it in layers of energy that grew thicker and more complex every hour. "I think we are about to find out if those ancient legends were true," he said quietly. Above them all, the alien ship waited in the darkness of space, unaware that it had awakened something that had been placed there long ago to protect the small blue world below. Less than 24 hours remained before Admiral Kethmore would begin his attack on Earth. But in his laboratory in Seoul, Dr. Jiho had just made a discovery that changed everything. "This is impossible," he whispered as he stared at his computer screen. The quantum patterns he had been tracking were not random energy fields. They were following mathematical rules that belonged to a branch of physics that humans had only theorized about. Dimensional fold technology. Dr. Jiho had spent years studying theoretical physics. He knew that dimensional folding was the most advanced form of space manipulation possible. It could bend reality itself, moving objects between different layers of space-time. But the calculations required were so complex that even the most powerful computers on Earth could barely understand the basic concepts. "Yunbi, you need to see this," he said during an emergency video call to Antarctica. "The energy patterns around Earth are not just quantum fields. They are dimensional manipulation on a scale that should be impossible." Dr. Yunbi looked at the data that Jiho sent her. Her face went white as she realized what she was seeing. "These calculations are perfect," she said in amazement. "Every equation balances exactly. But Jiho, this technology is thousands of years ahead of anything we can build." "I know," he replied, "and it has been here all along, hidden in places we thought were just old ruins." Meanwhile, Dr. Hae-jin was making connections that seemed crazy but could not be ignored. She had spent the last 18 hours reading every ancient text and legend she could find. The same story appeared in every culture, told in different ways, but always containing the same basic elements. Long ago, beings of great power came from the stars, she read from an ancient Sumerian tablet. "They built great monuments and promised to watch over humanity. When the greatest darkness comes, they will return to protect the children of Earth." Similar stories existed everywhere. The Celtic people spoke of the Tuatha De Danann, magical beings who promised to guard Ireland from beyond the veil of reality. The Aboriginal Australians had Dreamtime stories about star ancestors who left protective spirits in sacred sites. The Hopi Native Americans told of sky people who would return when the world faced its final trial. What if these were not myths? Hae-jin asked herself. What if ancient humans were recording real events? She called Jiho with her theory. The quantum signatures are coming from sites that every culture considered sacred. Stonehenge, the pyramids, Easter Island, Machu Picchu. What if these places were not built by ancient humans at all? You think aliens built them? Jiho asked. Not aliens like the ones threatening us now, Hae-jin replied. Something else. Something that wanted to protect Earth rather than conquer it. This conversation was interrupted by urgent news from Commander Subin, who was still conducting her dangerous reconnaissance mission near the Draconian ship. Her small vessel had detected something incredible. "Captain Hyunwoo," she reported through encrypted communication, "I am reading massive energy buildup beneath the Pacific Ocean. The source appears to be a structure on the ocean floor that is approximately 15 kilometers long and 5 kilometers wide." Captain Hyunwoo felt his heart skip a beat. "That is larger than any city," he said. "How deep is it?" 11 kilometers down, sir. Right at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And, Captain, it is not made of any material in our databases. The structure appears to be organic, like it was grown rather than built. This news reached Dr. Ji-ho within minutes. He immediately began calculating the quantum field strength that would be needed to operate a structure that size. The numbers were staggering. "If something that big is generating these energy fields," he told his research team, "then it has power sources beyond our understanding. We are talking about technology that could manipulate space and time on a planetary scale." Engineer Tae-min, who had been helping with the calculations, made another discovery. "Dr. Ji-ho, I have been analyzing the resonance frequencies from all the active sites. They are all synchronized. Every location around the world is vibrating at exactly the same rate. This synchronization was the final piece of evidence that Dr. Ji-ho needed. The ancient sites were not separate structures. They were all part of one massive network that spanned the entire planet. A defense system that had been quietly waiting for thousands of years. It is a planetary protection grid," he announced to his team. "Someone built a defense network around Earth using technology we cannot understand, and the alien threat has activated it." On the Draconian ship, Science Officer Rathan was becoming increasingly worried about the energy readings he was detecting. The quantum distortions around Earth were growing stronger every hour, and they were starting to affect his ship's instruments. "Admiral," he reported to Kethmore, "the energy fields around this planet are interfering with our targeting systems. I recommend we move to a safer distance before beginning the bombardment." But Admiral Kethmore was too proud and too angry to retreat. He had never run from a primitive species, and he was not going to start now. "Our weapons are more powerful than anything these creatures could build," he declared. "Continue charging the main cannons. We attack in 12 hours. However, the Admiral's confidence was misplaced. The quantum fields around Earth were not weapons in any sense that he understood. They were something far more sophisticated and dangerous. Dr. Yun-bi had discovered the true purpose of the dimensional fold technology. "Ji-ho," she called excitedly, "I understand what the defense system does. It does not destroy attacking ships. It removes them from normal space-time." "What do you mean?" Ji-ho asked. "The dimensional folds can create pocket universes," she explained. "Separate spaces that exist alongside our reality but are completely cut off from it. If a threat is detected, the system can simply move the threat into one of these pocket dimensions where it becomes trapped forever." This discovery was both amazing and terrifying. The defense network did not fight enemies. It made them disappear completely, as if they had never existed. No trace would remain, no wreckage, no evidence. The threat would simply vanish. Captain Hyunwoo received this information with mixed feelings. If the scientists were correct, then Earth had protection beyond imagination. But it also meant that humanity had been living under the guardianship of unknown beings for thousands of years without knowing it. "Should we inform Earth Command about these discoveries?" asked Lieutenant So-jin. Hyunwoo considered this carefully. The information was so incredible that most people would not believe it. And if the defense system was real, then telling people about it might somehow interfere with its operation. "Not yet," he decided. "Let us see what happens when the alien deadline passes." As the hours ticked by, the quantum fields around Earth continued to strengthen. In laboratories around the world, scientists detected the same energy patterns that Dr. Ji-ho had discovered. The ancient sites were all activating simultaneously, creating a network of power that encircled the globe. Deep beneath the ocean, the massive structure that Commander Subin had detected began to pulse with bioluminescent light. Patterns of blue and green energy spiraled outward from its center, creating geometric designs that followed mathematical rules no human had ever seen. Aboriginal elders in Australia reported that Uluru, their most sacred rock, was humming with a deep sound that came from inside the Earth. Scientists at Stonehenge measured electromagnetic readings that were off their scales. The Great Pyramid in Egypt began to emit a faint light that could be seen from orbit. Dr. Hyojin realized that every culture's stories about their sacred places were coming true. The protective spirits that ancient peoples had believed in were not spirits at all. They were advanced technology, disguised as natural formations and waiting for the day when Earth would need them most. "The Guardians are real," she told Jiho during their final conversation before the deadline. "And they are about to show the galaxy that Earth is not as defenseless as it appears." Above them all, Admiral Kethamore prepared for what he thought would be an easy victory. He had no idea that he was about to become the first example of what happened when someone threatened the small blue world that the ancients had chosen to protect. Admiral Kethamore stood on the bridge of his warship as the final hours counted down. The ultimatum he had given to Earth would expire in less than 6 hours, and the primitive humans had shown no sign of surrender. This insulted him deeply. In his long career of conquest, no species had ever dared to ignore a draconian demand. "Human vessels are still moving around their planet," reported his tactical officer. "They show no signs of preparing for surrender." "Then they have chosen death," Admiral Kethamore replied coldly. "Begin the final charging sequence for planetary bombardment. We will start with their largest cities." Deep in the ship's core, massive energy collectors began drawing power from the vessel's quantum reactors. The main bombardment cannons were designed to crack the crust of a planet, turning entire continents into molten rock. The energy required was enormous, but the Draconian ship carried enough power to destroy a dozen worlds. Captain Hyun-woo watched these preparations from the space station New Seoul. His instruments showed the alien ship's energy levels climbing toward devastating levels. He knew that when those weapons fired, millions of people would die in the first few seconds. "Sir, should we evacuate the station?" asked Lieutenant So-jin. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she worked at her control panel. "No," Hyun-woo replied. "Our duty is to protect Earth. If we run now, we abandon everyone down there." But even as he spoke those brave words, Hyun-woo felt helpless. The space station's weapons could not even scratch the alien ship's hull. He was like a man with a stick trying to fight a tank. Down on Earth, Dr. Jiho watched his instruments with amazement and growing hope. The quantum readings were reaching incredible levels. Every ancient site around the world was now fully active, creating energy patterns that his computers could barely measure. "The dimensional field is almost complete," he told his research team. "Whatever this defense system is designed to do, it is getting ready to do it." Dr. Yunbi called from Antarctica with urgent news. "Jiho, the structure beneath the Pacific Ocean is fully operational now. I am reading energy output that exceeds anything in our physics textbooks. And there is something else. The gravitational field around Earth is changing." "Changing how?" Jiho asked. "It is becoming selective. The field is learning to distinguish between different types of objects in space. It is like the system is preparing to grab something specific." This news sent chills down Jiho's spine. If the defense network could manipulate gravity, then it could reach out and touch the alien ship directly. But what would it do when it made contact? Meanwhile, Commander Subin was still conducting her dangerous reconnaissance mission near the Draconian vessel. Her small ship remained hidden, but she was close enough to see the alien weapons charging up with deadly energy. "The bombardment cannons are almost ready," she reported to Captain Hyun-woo. "Energy levels are approaching critical mass. They will be able to fire in approximately 4 hours." But as Subin watched the alien ship, she noticed something strange happening to space around it. The stars behind the vessel seemed to be bending slightly, as if the light was being affected by some invisible force. "Captain," she reported with excitement in her voice, "I am detecting spatial distortions forming around the alien ship. It looks like the space around them is being warped." This news reached Dr. Jiho within minutes. He immediately began analyzing the quantum field data from space around the Draconian vessel. What he found made him laugh with relief and amazement. "The defense grid is targeting the alien ship," he announced to his team. "It is creating a dimensional fold around their location. The system is preparing to remove the threat from normal space-time." Dr. Hyejin, who had been studying ancient texts all night, found a description that seemed to match what was happening. In an old Celtic manuscript, she read, "When the great darkness comes from the sky, the guardians will open the door between worlds and cast the evil into the realm of shadows, where it will wander forever in emptiness." That is exactly what the dimensional fold technology does, she told Jiho. It creates a pocket universe and traps things inside it. The ancient stories were describing real events. On the alien ship, Science Officer Rethan was becoming very worried. His instruments were detecting massive distortions in space-time around their vessel. The quantum fields were so strong that they were starting to interfere with the ship's basic systems. "Admiral," he reported urgently, "we are experiencing severe spatial anomalies. I strongly recommend that we retreat to a safe distance." But Admiral Kethmore was consumed with rage and pride. The idea of retreating from a primitive world was unthinkable. He had built his reputation on swift, brutal victories. He would not let these humans make him look weak. "Continue charging the weapons," he ordered. "If these creatures have some kind of defensive technology, we will overwhelm it with raw power." The Admiral's arrogance was about to cost him everything. He did not understand that the defense system around Earth was not designed to fight enemies. It was designed to make them simply cease to exist. As the final 2 hours approached, people around the world began to notice strange phenomena. The aurora borealis appeared in the skies over places where it had never been seen before. Ancient stone monuments began to glow with soft inner light. Temple ruins that had stood silent for thousands of years started to hum with low, musical tones. In England, tourists at Stonehenge watched in amazement as the massive stones pulsed with blue energy. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid began to emit a golden glow that could be seen for miles. On Easter Island, the giant stone heads seemed to be looking up at the sky with purpose. Dr. Haye Jin realized that these were not random light shows. The ancient sites were communicating with each other, synchronizing their energy output to create a planetary defense grid that operated as a single massive machine. "The entire planet has become a weapon," she told Jiho in wonder. "But not a weapon that destroys, a weapon that protects by removing threats from reality itself." Captain Yunwoo made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Instead of waiting silently for the aliens to attack, he opened a communication channel to the Draconian ship. "Alien vessel," he broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Captain Yunwoo of the United Earth Defense Force. I am warning you that you have chosen the wrong planet to threaten. Earth is under protection that you do not understand. Withdraw now, or face consequences that will echo across the galaxy." Admiral Kethmore received this message and laughed with contempt. "A primitive captain threatens the Draconian Empire? Prepare to fire all weapons. We will show this fool what real power looks like." But as the alien weapons reached full charge, something unprecedented began to happen. The space around the Draconian ship started to twist and fold like fabric being gathered by invisible hands. Reality itself was being manipulated by forces that the aliens could not comprehend or resist. Science Officer Rethan watched his instruments with growing horror as the readings showed impossible things. Space and time were being torn apart and rewoven around their vessel. "Admiral!" he screamed. "We need to retreat immediately! The dimensional distortions are becoming critical!" But it was already too late. The defense grid had locked onto its target, and the process of dimensional folding had begun. The quantum fields that had been building around Earth for 3 days were now focused on a single purpose: removing the threat from normal space-time forever. Commander Subin watched from her hidden position as the massive alien warship began to flicker like a candle in the wind. The vessel was caught between dimensions, existing in multiple realities at once as the ancient technology worked to isolate it from the normal universe. "Captain Hyunwoo," she reported with awe in her voice, "the alien ship is being pulled into some kind of spatial rift. I have never seen anything like this. It is like watching reality itself being rewritten." The final moment was approaching, and Admiral Kethmore finally understood that his ship was facing something beyond his comprehension. But his pride would not let him surrender, even as the fabric of space-time twisted around him like a closing fist. The moment of truth arrived like a thunderclap across the galaxy. Admiral Kethmore stood on the bridge of his warship as the quantum fields around Earth reached their peak power. The dimensional fold technology that had been dormant for thousands of years was now fully operational, and it had selected its target. "Fire all weapons!" Admiral Kethmore shouted in desperation. He finally understood that his ship was in terrible danger, but his pride would not let him retreat. The main bombardment cannons released their deadly energy toward Earth, but the plasma beams never reached their target. As soon as the weapons fired, space around the Draconian ship twisted like water going down a drain. The deadly energy was caught in the dimensional fold and disappeared into a pocket universe where it could harm nothing. Commander Subin watched from her hidden reconnaissance ship as reality itself seemed to bend around the massive alien vessel. "Captain Hyunwoo," she reported with amazement. "The alien ship it is disappearing, not exploding, not moving. It is simply ceasing to exist." The process happened faster than anyone could have imagined. One moment, the kilometer-long warship hung in space like a dark star. The next moment, there was nothing there at all. No wreckage, no explosion, no trace that it had ever existed. The Draconian ship and its crew of 3,000 aliens had been removed from normal space-time as cleanly as erasing a word from a page. Captain Hyunwoo stared out the window of his space station at the empty space where the alien threat had been. Is it really gone?" he asked Lieutenant Sojin. "All sensors confirm, sir," she replied with wonder in her voice. "There is no trace of the alien vessel. It has completely vanished." On Earth, Dr. Jiho watched his instruments as the quantum readings began to decrease. The defense grid was powering down now that the threat had been eliminated. The ancient sites around the world slowly dimmed their mysterious lights and returned to their normal appearance. The system worked perfectly, he told his research team. The dimensional fold technology removed the threat without causing any damage to Earth or the surrounding space. It is the most advanced defensive technology imaginable. Dr. Yunbi called from Antarctica with her final readings. "The structure beneath the Pacific Ocean is going dormant again," she reported. "But Jiho, before it shuts down completely, it sent out some kind of signal, a message broadcast on quantum frequencies that will reach every corner of the galaxy." "What kind of message?" Jiho asked. "I cannot translate it, but the mathematical structure is clear. It is a warning. The message is telling the galaxy that Earth is protected and what happens to anyone who threatens it." Within hours, news of the impossible event began to spread across the galaxy. Alien civilizations that had been monitoring Earth received the quantum broadcast and tried to understand what had happened. A primitive species had somehow made a Draconian warship vanish completely. No one could explain how such a thing was possible. The Galactic Council, a loose alliance of 12 major alien civilizations, called an emergency session. Representatives from across 3 sectors of space gathered to discuss the mysterious disappearance of the Draconian vessel. "The ship's quantum signature simply stopped," reported the Centauri ambassador. "One moment it existed, the next moment it did not. Our best scientists cannot explain this phenomenon." "The humans must have hidden weapons," suggested the Vegan delegate. "Perhaps they are not as primitive as we believed, but when alien ambassadors contacted Earth to demand explanations, Captain Hyunwoo gave them an honest answer that satisfied no one. "We had nothing to do with the disappearance of the alien ship," he told a delegation of 5 different species. "We are as surprised as you are. Earth has no weapons capable of such action." The aliens did not believe him, but their own investigations proved that he was telling the truth. Earth's military technology was indeed primitive by galactic standards. Humans had no dimensional manipulation technology, no quantum fold generators, and no weapons that could affect space-time. This mystery made Earth the most talked-about planet in the galaxy. Species that had planned to invade the small blue world quickly canceled those plans. The aggressive hegemony of Vega, which had been preparing a conquest fleet, quietly redirected their ships to easier targets. Meanwhile, the peaceful Centauri Republic sent a diplomatic mission to Earth offering friendship and alliance. Any species under such powerful protection must be treated with respect, their ambassador explained to Captain Hyunwoo. Dr. Hyejin continued her research into ancient human legends and made more discoveries that amazed her. "Every culture on Earth has stories about the return of the Guardians," she told Jiho. "But they all say the same thing. The protectors will remain as long as humanity stays on the path of growth and learning." "What path?" Jiho asked. The stories are vague, but they seem to suggest that Earth is some kind of test or experiment. Humanity is being watched and protected while we develop into something greater. The question is, what are we supposed to become? This question would puzzle scientists and philosophers for years to come. But one thing was certain. Earth was no longer seen as a primitive backwater by the galaxy's major powers. The planet was now known to be under the protection of technology so advanced that it could rewrite reality itself. Captain Hyun Woo found himself at the center of a new age of galactic diplomacy. Alien species that had never shown interest in Earth suddenly wanted to establish friendly relations. Trade agreements were offered, cultural exchanges were proposed, scientific cooperation was eagerly sought. 6 months ago, we were alone in the universe, he told his crew during a celebration dinner on the space station. Now we are part of a galactic community, and every species wants to be our friend. Because they are afraid of us, added Engineer Taemin with a laugh. Not afraid of us, corrected Lieutenant Sojin. Afraid of our guardians. The question of who these guardians were remained unanswered. Dr. Jiho and his team continued to study the quantum signatures from the ancient sites, but the technology was so advanced that they could barely understand its basic principles. Whoever built this defense network, Jiho concluded, they were millions of years ahead of our current science. They may have been the first intelligent species in the galaxy, or they may have come from another galaxy entirely. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the massive structure that had operated the dimensional fold returned to its long sleep. But it was not inactive. Sensors throughout the galaxy detected similar quantum signatures beginning to appear around human colonies on distant worlds. The protection was spreading. Wherever humans went in space, the ancient guardians seemed to follow. This discovery made other alien species even more cautious about their dealings with Earth. Commander Subin, promoted to Admiral for her brave reconnaissance mission, established the first human deep space monitoring station. Her job was to watch for signs of other threats and to study the quantum fields that seemed to protect human settlements. The strangest thing, she reported to Earth Command, is that the protection seems to be selective. It only activates when humans are threatened by extinction-level events. Smaller conflicts and normal space accidents are not affected. This selectivity suggested that the defense system was not just advanced technology, but intelligent technology. Something was making decisions about when and how to protect humanity. As years passed, Earth became a major power in galactic politics, despite having relatively primitive technology. Other species sought human alliance not because of what humans could do, but because of what their unknown protectors might do to anyone who harmed them. The mystery of the Guardians remained unsolved, but their message was clear to every civilization in the galaxy. Earth and its people were under protection that could not be challenged or overcome. The small blue world that had once seemed insignificant was now known to be the most dangerous planet to threaten in all of known space. And somewhere in a pocket dimension outside normal space-time, Admiral Kethmore and his crew continued to exist in a prison where time moved so slowly that they would have eternity to regret their decision to threaten the world that the ancients had chosen to guard.